Hey, my tech friends, thanks for stopping by. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Let's continue to grow this channel. Hope you guys enjoy this video. Hey guys, welcome back to another Windows X-Lite, specifically X-Lite 11. Last we left off on this system, we were taking a look at the security and found that this thing's just about as secure as all Windows 11 systems. But something I noticed in the comments was that there's a common occurrence here where people say, well, these operating systems are maybe secure, or they may not be secure. However, the real question or concern is whether or not you could actually function with a daily driver like this. In other words, does this work out of the box, daily driven? Can you install software on this? And then once you install the software, does the operating system just re-expand to the bloated operating system it originally started with? Or does it require you to do customizations and extras and things like that through the built-in config software in it? In other words, do I have to use the built-in X-Lite package installer in order for me to get packages and still retain the size? Or could I just go to the internet and download Chrome? Can I install Firefox? How about Brave? Do all those things just install on the system? And then once I install them, do I actually increase the operating system back to the same bloated operating system it began with? Or can I actually function and use the system with its small size, but additional software added to it? Obviously, just compensating for the additional software. So as we sit right now, we could see that the system has roughly about 5.6 gigs of actual storage being used, which is interesting because if we go down into the taskbar and we take a look at the actual system itself from a performance standpoint, we can see that the system has 6 gigs of allocated memory. So we have a page file. And since we have a page file on the system, we likely also have a, storage being used for the page file. Because it's going to sit on that same C drive where it is. Now you'll see the uptime on the system is for quite a while. And the reason I did that, I did it on purpose so that way we could actually run a real-time test with the additional load of noting that this system has been up for a while. So let's take a look now and see if we can install some software on here and see what happens. Can we still retain the size of the actual operating system even with the additional software installed on it? Okay, so we're connected again to the internet. Now there's something I want to point out, which is that this system is a smaller operating system. Now we've looked at Windows 11 on the integral side, specifically the size of the integral system and its support for the older platform of hardware. And I just want to point out that even on this small system with 2 cores in a 10th gen processor, we have quite a bit of actual processor utilization on something that's more or less just idle. And also, we're nearly at 2 gigs of resources out of 6 gigs available on a particular system that really doesn't do anything. It's connected to the internet right now, but it does not have anything really on it because, again, as it's an X-Lite system, it doesn't have the added nagging and the obnoxious features that your typical or traditional Windows 11 system would have. So since we have this small footprint and we're currently running, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to close this. So we could see that this is 23H2, so it is completely up to date as far as our revision is or our package is concerned. But let's actually go on the internet and see if we can install maybe Firefox or some other internet-based application to connect to the internet. Now, right now, I'm not 100% sure if we have a browser on this system at all. So let's check that first. Let's try to go to like HTTPS. Yeah, so it doesn't look like we have a application configured to get on the internet. So let me download something else and let me double click on it in this machine and hopefully we can get to the internet to download the rest of the actual browser. Okay, so there we go. We're downloading Firefox now on this machine. And specifically what I did is I just launched the executable downloader from another machine and copied it over to this thing so we could actually run it. So once we get Firefox installed on it, let's see if we get any massive expansion, because I think the package for Firefox is probably going to be about 1 gig. So let's take a look at this. We haven't really gained much, or lost much, I should say. So the operating system is still really pretty darn light. I mean, we're probably at about 6.5 gigs now. So let's continue to look. Now keep in mind, we're still pounding away at the CPU. Again, this is 2 cores. I realize that, in a multi-core configuration where we'd have 4 cores and 8 threads, this would look much different. But I would like to just point out that You know, that's heavy for us for an old machine. And I'm only bringing this up again because we looked at the Integral 11 machine in the latest video, and you know, putting a full-blown Windows 11 operating system on like a 5th gen processor has got to be just mind-bogglingly slow. So, it's just the way it is. So let's continue on. Let's see what else we could add to the system. Specifically, I wonder if we install, I don't know, an Office application, like say FreeOffice. Let's get FreeOffice on this thing and see what we look at like after that. So basically what I'd like to do is I'd like to configure this desktop as much as possible to be a daily driver desktop. And then let's take a look at the actual storage size. Now, knowing that, I think on a Windows 11 traditional system, with all the updates, without the shrunkenness of the operating system, we're looking at between 22.6 and 26 gigs in storage. So let's see how much storage we use once we get everything installed on this thing, and see if we still fall below the 22 or 26 gigs of storage of a ISO, fully up-to-dated Windows 11 system with nothing else installed. Okay, so we're going to get FreeOffice installed on here now. Just hit Next and install. You'll notice the 15 million command prompts that open. That's pretty normal when this application installs for whatever reason. Okay, so we have FreeOffice installed. I don't know why it laid it out weird, but it sure did lay it out weird. Okay, so now let's get Steam installed on this thing. Okay, so we're going to do the installation of Steam now. I will say that despite looking to see what we're actually utilizing as far as memory resources and processor, that the X-Lite 11 experience is quick. It's not slow. I mean, the actual package that they have built here is probably one of the fastest Windows 11 systems I've ever used that, based on what we're seeing here, can actually be used. Okay, so I got Steam installed, and Steam is running, and Steam is working, and I don't see any problems with Steam, so that's good news. So from a Steam standpoint, Steam's to work. Office works. The FreeOffice application works. We have Firefox installed, so that works. Let's see what else we could put on this thing. Maybe we'll put like Notepad++ on this, and a couple other things to see if we could actually just use this. But so far, everything appears to work. So one of the things I want to point out here is the fact that even though it does work, if we look at our memory utilization in our CPU, we're almost at half RAM usage, actually more. We're at 53% of our memory utilization is there. And we're sitting idle now at about 7 to 10% CPU usage, which is big. That's heavy. So again, even though it's not a very big operating system, because even with all the application packages, we're still not at the 22 gigs of storage needed just for the base operating system for Windows 11. It is definitely heavy. There's no question about that. Let's continue to add stuff to this thing and see how much we could add before we run out of available resources. Okay, so just to clarify, we've gone from 5.6 gigs of used storage in order to run the operating system. And then we installed Firefox, which brought us to 6 gigs of total storage used to run the operating system. And then we installed the rest of the packages, including Steam, and that brought us to 8.1 gigs of total storage used to run the operating system. So we're still doing really good in comparison to a full-blown operating system. Again, with the keeping in mind that the one caveat to that is, even though the storage situation is resolved, right? So we have plenty of storage now. The operating system itself, the kernel itself, as I've stated multiple times before, is just super bloated. It just requires so much to run it. So we're at 52% utilized at idle, 7 to 10% on a dual core 10th gen at idle, just to run the operating system. So I'm going to continue on. Let's get, like I said, Notepad++ I want to put on here next. And I'm going to continue to install stuff that I would say would be used on a daily basis for a daily user. And let's see how much I can put on here until we either blue screen or we run out of resources. Okay, so at this point we have Chrome installed. We have Firefox installed. We have a free Office copy installed. We have Steam installed, and we have Epic Games installed, and all of them work. I haven't had a problem with any of them. I have Notepad++ installed, and that also works. Haven't had an issue with that. As you can see, we're still chugging around right around the 50% mark, about the 10% CPU utilization, and we are at a total storage now of 11 gigs used. So we're still half, and in some cases less than half, the size of a full-blown vanilla Windows 11 system. We still retain the security from the Windows 11 system. And now we have all the software installed and everything works. So this is actually turning out to be a really good operating system, a really good alternative to somebody that doesn't want the additional storage. Now, I say that because the benefit of your CPU and your memory utilization appears to be about the same. So I don't know that it gives you any benefit if you have a larger hard drive. So if you're running like a Surface, like a Microsoft Windows Surface, and say you're running like a Surface Pro maybe 2, where maybe they shipped with 64 gigs of hard drive space, or it used to be maybe a Windows 10S system where it had 32 gigs of hard drive space, this is a perfect operating system for you. It's small, you can put a lot of stuff on it, and you still retain the vast majority of the security features, but you also retain enough storage to actually run the operating system. This is a great alternative to running the S version of Windows 10 or Windows 11. Now, with that said, I don't see the same benefit or the same bonus to our actual memory utilization and CPU. So if you have something that's a boat anchor and you put this on it, and say that it was a boat anchor with Windows 10, it's going to be a worse boat anchor with Windows 11. If it was a Windows 11 system and it was a boat anchor and you ran out of storage because you bought an S machine and you thought, oh, I'll never use 64 gigs of storage, not taking into consideration that the operating system was close to 30 gigs in itself, then yeah, this is the perfect opportunity to upgrade to a different operating system. And this thing does run smooth. I will give them credit that it's quick. It's not slow. We do have a lot of resource utilization, but you don't really notice it. It doesn't really translate over the same because the operating system itself is trimmed down enough. There's enough fat cut out of it that it doesn't feel slow. Now, with that said, I would say that minimum, if you're going to run the X11 operating system, this X-Lite operating system, that you probably want 8 gigs of RAM, and you want a minimum of 4 cores of processor. And if you don't have that, then I still wouldn't recommend this. I mean, yes, it works. But is it going to actually play games if I open up the Epic launcher? Probably not. There's not enough here allocated to this system in order to do that. But it would be perfectly acceptable to use as a daily driver. Everything works. I haven't had a single issue with it. Leave a comment down below if you've had problems with this operating system doing stuff, because I can't seem to replicate it. And if you have like something that you've done specifically that you can replicate it, let me know what you've done because I'll install it. I'd like to see what's going on. Okay guys, so I have a lot of stuff installed. I have a lot of stuff running all in the background right now while we're on the Windows operating system. We are installing updates on the system right now. You can see by my CPU utilization, I'm at 95 to 100%, basically pinned. I'm still using roughly about 2.5 to, 50, I'd say 45 to 70% of my memory utilization over the past couple minutes. The uptime is now 5 minutes because I did reboot the system. I figured it would only be fair to actually run this as if it was just booted versus saying 11 days of no reboot and continuous uptime. I didn't think was fair, so I figured for the sake of this test, we would just run it as if it was just booted. And then on the bottom, I have just about everything I installed running all at the same time, plus the updates and everything going. And I'll be honest, so far, I'm still impressed. I really am. This is one of those rare occasions where I find a homebrew operating system that is just done right. It's just well engineered. I mean, listen, there's some things you just can't control, right? This is Microsoft. If you don't like this, then write a letter to Microsoft. Let Bill Gates know that when he's not busy using his scratch and sniff wallpaper, that maybe you should get back on it and start to reconfigure these things because they've gotten out of control. I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, quite frankly, that's just the way it is. This is the world we live in now where everything has to be super frilly and everybody needs to have the most pretty colors on a screen. I don't really know why. The days of having simplistic operating systems seems to be gone. But this is a really great attempt. This operating system is fantastic. I genuinely I'm just so surprised. And the reason why I say it that way is because they trimmed the fat out of the right place. They removed portions of the operating system that aren't used. There are things that are annoying, things that people can't stand about the Windows 11 operating system. They're gone. So what they've done is they've trimmed out the garbage that nobody cares about, but they've still left intact the operating system so you can still function and use it as a daily driver operating system. I mean, I don't want to give them so much credit that it blows up their mind, but in reality, this is really the upgrade that you should go from Windows 10 to. I wouldn't go to the vanilla version knowing that this exists. It's just so well polished. And the thing is now that I'm saying that, what we're going to do is we're going to run another Nessus scan against this and compare it to the previous results. Now that we have all the stuff installed on it, now that we have our Windows updates configured to actually pull updates and run the updates on the system, now that we've run the fix, the actual SMB secure the signature fix on the system, I'm really curious what we see. Again, 40 is what our number is, right? So with that fix applied, 40 infos is what we should see in the scan. And the question is do you think we'll see 40 infos? Do you think we'll see more infos? Do you think we'll see less? Let's wait until this thing finishes running the rest of the updates here. And then once we do that, we'll reboot the box. We'll run a scan against this thing again. Okay, guys, so a quick review of our previous scans. So on March 27th is when we ran our last scan against our X-Lite system. So when we did it, we did the penetration post fix. So basically that's after we applied our registry fix to fix the signature on the Windows 11 system. And this is before that. So we're just going to focus on this one, which we had 65 infos on this one, which is quite a bit actually. And the thing is that the reason for that is because there are customizations in this particular operating system to slim it down. And as a result, there are particular patches or fixes that are missing from the operating system that while the application isn't present, the scanner doesn't care. The scanner is going to check to see why it is that we don't have that particular patch that fixes whatever that vulnerability is. And then when it does the scan, it finds that the application is not installed, so it just enters that detail as info versus an actual issue. So 65 as a number on this particular operating system is not necessarily a bad thing because we don't have the applications installed that the patches would resolve. Okay, guys, so as you can see, it's still running. We're at 98%. We're at 59. We're going to get the same 65. It's just how it's going to be. With that said, a lot of these info configurations that we're getting the notifications on are things that are going to be really simple to fix. So I think what we should do is maybe on our next video, we should focus on how to resolve some of these infos that are coming across on the X-Lite system that are really straightforward and simple things that you at home using this operating system can easily tackle. And then after we get that completed, let's do a verdict video as to what we find as to whether or not this system should rank in the top for our Windows 11 homebrew systems. What do you guys think? Add some comments down below. I'm interested in knowing and how you guys like it. Have you been using it? Any issues? Keep me posted. Let me know how you guys like this particular operating system.